Alright. Hi guys. Blake, Darren, and Jackson here today with Lilley's Landing Resort and Marina on beautiful upper Lake Taneycomo. It is Tuesday the 26th of January and we are going to do the one cast for you today. It's hard to manipulate this trolling motor with these boots on. Alright, so today we boated up. We're starting right below the tennis course here, and we're going to use these Lew's Wally Marshall 9-foot spin cast rods. We got about 10 or 11 foot a leader, so this has got a 10-pound braid line with an Albright knot to connect the 6-pound. There's about 6 foot of 6-pound test there, and then about 6 foot of 4-pound test. And right here on the end for my scud, we've got 6X tippet. That's a size AAA weight, which is 0.8 grams. And then we've got a little size 12 peppy gray scuds there on the end. So since our rain yesterday, they've bumped the generation back up into the 7,000. I think we're 7,500 CFS. So a little bit more than 2 units. And the easiest way to cast these rods when you're out here doing this is to get a little bit of line down with your indicator, flip it back, let it land on the water, and then cast it forward. And you just kind of have to lob it. You don't really need to take it way out there. And then you just want to make sure that that slack line on top of the water, you got as much as that slack out while you're floating. That way you can set the hook in time. It's easier if you have a real bright colored braided line for your base. When I set these up, I was in a hurry and I couldn't get anywhere to get some real bright colored line, so I used a dark green, and it kind of blends in with the water. So if you can afford to take the time to find some bright line, that's what I suggest. Ooh, Darren swinging a miss. So Darren used to work for Lilleys. How long ago was that?
About 6 years ago.
About 6 years ago. Oh, and he's hooked up. Sweet. I'm glad Darren came to show us what a fish looks like today. Oh, we don't get to see what it looks like. Try again. And Darren is now back up in the shop working. Glad to have Darren back. Darren also was a guide here when he worked here, so you got someone else you can come ask your fishing questions to up there in the shop. Fishing reports for today, I don't really have any. We passed one boat just a second ago before we started the video, and they said that the bite was kind of slow for them. And that's the only fishing report I have. This method we're doing today is really handy, especially if you don't like using a fly rod. These 9-foot spin cast rods allow you to get and fish, you know, flies underneath an indicator at the same kind of depths that you would with a fly rod, except you get to use your spin cast rod. But you definitely want to set them up, like I said, with that from your braided line to the 6-pound test with about 6 foot. Oh, there's a fish. That's on the first cast. Oh boy, I gotta land him though. It still doesn't count if I don't land him. Ooh, better turn the drag down. Yeah, it'd be a lot easier to use the net. I'm gonna put Darren's guide netting skills to the test here, see if they're still there. Official first cast. Sweet. I love it when they pop out. I was hoping that was going to happen, but it didn't. Well, that's a nice, oh no. A nice fat one there. Pretty colors. You need another scud, or did you lose the weight and everything? Okay, let me get in my pocket real quick for you. Let's see. I probably didn't put them back in the same pocket. You know how it goes. There you go. Pick one of those ones that doesn't look like it's been used out of there. I like using a fresh scud. Sometimes those used ones get a little frayed and torn after the fish pull on them a few times. They don't quite look natural anymore. But anyway, as I was saying, that using Albright knot, or I guess you could probably use a blood knot maybe, between the braided line and the 6-pound test, and then you just use a double surgeon's knot to connect your 4-pound to your 6-pound, and then the same for your tippet on the end. Now today, on a day like today with the overcast and the water's still just a little murky, I probably could have got away with using just 4-pound test as the leader for the fly, but it's, you know, if you can afford to, it's always better to use a smaller line. That way you know for sure that the fish can't see that line. The water has been, other than this rainstorm just a few days ago, the water has been clearing up significantly, so we're getting back to the point where you kind of need that smaller line where your fly's at. Steve Dickey was doing the same method with a guide trip yesterday, and they caught some nice fish, and they drifted the scuds down below the trophy area and came back with a limit as well, and they were using the same AAA weight, and he said he was using 2-pound test for his leader, which is tensile strength wise just a little not quite as strong as 6X tippet, which is what we're using today, but diameter wise it's about the same. Oh, that was a bite. Something you can do to prevent that slack from folding out on the water is hold your rod tip up at a higher angle. You want to make sure that you're not holding it up so high that you're pulling the bobber, because that'll keep the scud from drifting how you want it to drift. But if you just hold that rod tip up a little bit and only leave a little bit of line on the water, you can kind of prevent that slack from happening. And if your operator of the boat knows how to use the trolling motor, you won't get as much slack either. But that's easier said than done, especially when you get some wind blowing. It's way easier said than done if you're not wearing a giant pair of hunting boots. And something you want to do every 4 to 5 minutes, especially if you're not having any bites at all, is pull that thing in and make sure your weight's not tangled around your line, causing your leader to be too short. Make sure you don't have any moss. Make sure your weight hasn't slid. Something I did on these rigs today was where I attached my 6X tippet, I made it 20 inches long. did the double surgeon's knot, and then tied the scud so that it would be 20 inches, and I just put the weight, I clipped it on right above the double surgeon's knot so that it can't slide past that knot. And that is a way to keep from having to adjust that weight every 5 casts. But if you don't clip the weight on there good, it will slide up the line sometimes, so you still got to check it. Oh, swing and a miss. You can use any form of indicator really for this. Now, the indicators we're using are the weighted foam indicators that we sell up in the shop. That helps make it easy to cast. Now, like I said, when you're doing this method, you really don't have to cast it very far away from the boat. I mean, 10 feet will do the trick. You don't need to get a big giant cast out there, but if you use that weighted indicator, that will help you lob it easier without having to strain yourself too much there. I've seen people use just the foam indicators with a pick, and then they put a little split shot on right below the indicator to help with casting weight. And if you're using a weight as big as the one we're using on there today, that AAA, it's got enough weight you could zing it with anything. But we're coming up. We are just now starting to go through the narrows here. I'm actually gonna just pull in and make sure I don't have any moss before we go through here. Yeah, that looks moss free to me. And the wind is picking up significantly. It's a lot cooler today. Yesterday we made it almost to the 60-degree mark. Ooh. Dang, what did I do different on your setup? You're getting all kinds of bites over there. I set both these rods up the same, so I thought. Well, in order to hook a fish, you got to get a bite first, you know? At least you're getting the bites. Now we're facing the dilemma that the wind is strong enough it's pushing the boat back upstream a little and putting a lot of slack between my line and the indicator. So one way I could solve that would be to point the nose of the boat forward, make it a little more aerodynamic instead of sideways like we are right now, where we're getting the most surface area against the wind. And the same goes for, I could just point the nose of the boat downstream a little bit and then use the trolling motor to keep the tension between the line. Anytime you're floating an indicator with something underneath it, you kind of want to, as much as you can, keep the boat and the current at the same speed. Oh! Anyway, I'd say today we're setting somewhere in the 37-degree range right now. And that wind is not nice at all. We're gonna cast on this other side now. Point it that way. Whew. I think Jackson's starting to wonder why he came out of the warm office. We'll drifter on down to the end of the island here and we'll call it a day. I really like that flat up here on the front of the island for drifting scuds through. Really for anything, but like I said, I've got these set at about 11 foot right now, so that's pretty much covering all the bases as we drift through here, covering any depth we might encounter for the most part. It gets a little closer to the island. Guys up there next to us caught a fishy. Oh, there we go. The wind stopped for a second. Oh, that was one. Dang it. So in this kind of flow, and especially on a cloudy day like today with the water just a little bit murky, that size 12 scud's gonna be just right. You could probably even get away with something like a size 10 or a size 12 on a 200R hook, which are a little bit longer. Now when they started running that half unit the other day, that's the time when you'd want to, you know, decrease the size of your leader to that 2-pound test, the 6X's, and maybe even go to something like a size 14 or even a 16. Whoa! Well, the wind only disappeared for a second. It's back. Oh no. Alright, I can't set the hook either. I got lucky earlier, he just ate it good enough.
Yep. No, I'm not getting the right, so.
We switched sides of the boat, now I'm over here on the left side. The other thing to do, oh, yay, he hooked himself. I wasn't even paying attention. I might be able to pull this one up here. Time for just one more here. See what happens. Turn that camera back to the side of the boat. Oh, that last one I wasn't even paying attention to. He just set the hook on himself. They are definitely quick biting. They're short biting a little bit. They're just barely picking it up. But I think I was saying that if you're gonna drift the same line that we just drifted, that 10 to 11 foot is gonna be perfect. Yeah, that water's slowing down over there. In this 2 units of flow. But if you're fishing other places in the lake and you're not getting any bites, just keep playing around with that depth or with your weight size. But that AAA weight, which is 0.8 grams, should do the trick in most spots with this flow going right now. But it looks like we made it to the end of the island, and it's super cold. So we're gonna sign off for today. Well, we thank you guys for watching. Like and share us on Facebook, and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't. And we'll be back out here to do it again tomorrow. Thanks, guys. Oh, one second. All right, now.